How much is this about preparing China for modern warfare?
I think it has to. I think that is a big part of it. If you look at what they've done, they've elevated the importance of aeronautics. They've elevated the importance of cyber. Those are both areas where there's intense competition with the United States. I think that's probably the driving force. There's obviously another factor here is we've seen a big turnover in the defense arena in terms of personnel. We had the defense minister removed. The head of the strategic support force that is being now removed, that person has not been seen for a while either. And so there is some political sort of things happening underneath all this as well.
John, we've also got Secretary of State Antony Blinken heading to China, the latest in quite a long procession of U.S. officials to head over to China. In what respect is this mission going to be a bit of a diplomatic tightrope, though?
So on one hand, Secretary Blinken is making this trip because of the meeting between President Xi and Biden in San Francisco, and they are trying to continue the sort of détente that has come out of that meeting, out of APEC at the end of last year. On the other hand, there are lots of problems, the biggest problem of which is Russia, Ukraine, and Chinese support of Russia. As Secretary Blinken already talking about earlier last week, how much objection there is to Chinese supplying Russia with so-called dual-use technologies, things that can be used for missiles, but also used for commercial purposes, for cars, for electronics. And that is a big issue that we are expecting Secretary Blinken to bring up when he is in Beijing.
And again, it really comes back down to that sort of competition and returning to that idea of China's military. Do we have clarity, as you mentioned, these personnel changes and people that haven't been seen in public for a while? Have we got clarity on who really is leading these key positions in China's military at this point in time? And also, because there's been that question in the past of China being prepared in terms of weapons, but strategically not ready either for combat.
I think Xi Jinping has made it very clear that his objective is to get the Chinese military to the point where it could fight and win a war. Whether that is, in fact, the condition that the military finds itself in today, I think that's questionable, especially if you have so many high-ranking officials being moved around and removed. At the same time, that effort is not going to change because it's even though we may not have great certainty about who's in charge of the military at any specific rank. We know very well that Xi Jinping is in charge, and it's very clear what he wants to do.